Welcome back, Education 181 students. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Cionne.
I'm Caroline. And to carry on our series of lectures, we're going to talk about the theories of childhood development. Before we start a lecture, let's look at this little joke. The doctor says he's developing just fine. The babies in those commercials aren't really talking. We will be discussing two theories today, Piaget's cognitive development theory and the ecological system theories.
By the end of this lecture, you should be able to explain the two highlighted theories, give examples of these theories, compare and contrast these theories, and apply these theories to different occupations in the human services field. First up, Piaget's theory of cognitive development. His theory focuses on how knowledge is acquired both with biological growth and with the experiences of the environment. The question being asked is, how do children think? According to Piaget, children acquire fundamentally different skills as they age. The sensory motor stage begins at birth and ends at age 2. During this stage, babies use their senses to become aware of what is immediately in front of them. Some activities that can be practiced to enhance these skills are things like allowing babies to interact with toys that make noise, light up, and letting them put toys in their mouth. Up until about age 1, children have not yet mastered object permanence, which is the ability to recognize that objects still exist even when they aren't directly seen. This is evident in a classic game of peekaboo. Babies really think that the person disappears during peekaboo because they have not yet achieved object permanence. This explains why they are so excited when the person reappears. After the sensory motor stage comes the pre-operational stage. Coming in from ages 2 to 7, this stage is important because children begin to use language to represent and make sense of the world around them. Children in this stage don't think logically quite yet, and if they don't pass the conservation task, then you know that your child is fine. A child in this stage typically uses imagination and their memory to develop their thought processes. Practicing activities like writing, reading, and conversing with the child are important during this time.
Next, we're going to look at the ecological systems theory. This theory looks at how humans develop based on their relationships that surround them at multiple levels of their environment. There are 5 different levels of their environment. First, we have the microsystem, which is the child's immediate environment. It includes their parents, teachers, or siblings. Then there is the mesosystem, where the people from the child's microsystem interact with each other. A good example of this interaction would be a parent-teacher conference. Next is the exosystem, which is when something indirectly affects the child. An example of this is if a parent comes home from work upset and takes it out on the child. We then have the macrosystem and the chronosystem. The macrosystem is the cultural values and beliefs the child is exposed to, while the chronosystem is the period in time which the child is developing in. An example of that would be a child developing in the civil rights movement.
Let's talk about the similarities and differences of the two theories.
Some similarities would be that both of the theories involve nurture, which means that development is influenced by the environment. These theories are also carried on throughout adulthood.
Piaget's theory is a single path, meaning cognitive development is universal. Cognitive development is also discontinuous, which indicates that as you grow, the skills you obtain are fundamentally different from one another. Alternatively, nature and nurture are both influential in a child's cognitive development.
The ecological systems are continuous, which means that as a child grows up, they add on to their skill. This theory also has multiple paths, so the path that is taken depends on the environment of the child. There are no stages to this theory, unlike Piaget's. Now, how can these theories be applied to the human service field?
Since children begin to use language and words during the pre-operational stage, a speech therapist can apply their work to Piaget's theory. If a child struggles to use their words, a speech therapist can begin to use their techniques to motivate and teach him or her new vocabulary. Practicing language with flashcards, reading, and listening to words will help a child struggling in the area of development. A challenge for a speech therapist could be that a lack of language can stem from biological aspects, so it can't be improved, just maintained.
A psychologist can use the ecological system theory by 1, identifying who has direct and indirect impact on the child, then by helping those people understand their impact and guide them in ways that can create a positive environment for the child. And then by thinking about how the chrono system and the macro system can have an effect on the child and finding the ways that minimize the negative effects. Like psychologists can also use parent behavioral training to help parents learn different ways to handle situations with their children. Today we discussed what Piaget's cognitive theory and ecological system theory consist of, how they relate and differ, and how it applies to the human services field.
So today, you learned that Piaget's theory is dependent on age and each child experiences these stages of development.
You were also able to see that the ecological system theory is based on how the environment influences a child's growth.
A speech therapist can be beneficial in a child's cognitive growth when it comes to language by inspiring a child to use their words.
Looking back at the ecological system theory can help psychologists use the environment around a child to give off positive influences so that they can have a healthy childhood.
Well, class, that's it for our lecture today.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.